All right. Well, we are excited to have this dynamic duo who's doing some amazing things with their podcast and other things that got rock and rolling down in sunny San Diego, I should say, right?
Yeah.
We have, there he is. What's going on? Good stuff. We have Joe Fier and Matt Wolfe from the amazing podcast, Hustle and Flowchart. I have been loving this podcast. I've been listening to you guys for a while now, and you guys give such
awesome.
great nuggets, great goodies for entrepreneurs out there. Just absolutely glad to have you guys here on International Podcast Day.
Right on, man. Thank you, Scott, for having us. And thanks for listening. I saw you on the live stream last week for our 100th episode. I was like, yes.
Yeah, there you go. Well, 100 episodes, you got to celebrate that.
You're right.
That's staying focused on it. And I know you guys are busy with other things. But it's great. Anytime you celebrate other people doing 100 episodes, 200, whatever, it's a really great thing. So I wanted to share a little bit for those that don't know who you guys are. Joe Fier and Matt Wolfe have been in business for themselves and together for most of the time for 11 years. Their podcasting career started in 2010. It's been their passion ever since. Both guys were born and still reside in Toasty, San Diego, and run a traffic and branding education company called Evergreen Profits. At their core, they guide their audience to live and work in ways that aren't the norm, mainly around the focus of generating qualified, consistent traffic and growing a brand. So come say hi and grab a beer with Joe and Matt. You'll get the good stuff out of them. And it's kind of funny. When I was pulling up stuff and Evergreen Profits popped up, I saw Joe's Facebook thing where he's throwing up hops. You know,
That's right.
I was like, is that a different type of grain because you guys are in San Diego?
That's it, man. Yeah. No, we're like surrounded by craft breweries and we hold events there, entrepreneur events. So it's fun. We brew the beer and then we party and drink our beer. So it's super cool.
Even better. So let's talk about how'd you guys come up with Hustle and Flowchart?
Yeah. So it's kind of like our dynamic, Matt and I. So I would say I'm more the hustle part and he's more the flowchart. So it's like I'm kind of more the outgoing, the let's do this, let's try this, let's go. And Matt's more the analytical. Let's map this thing out, think about it. So it's actually the perfect combo of what we've noticed, and a ton of other successful people have said, "Dude, you have something unique here. You got to harness it." And that's kind of what the show's all about,
Yeah,
So
the name came to me one day in the shower, and I was just like, Hustle and Flowchart. I don't know why it popped into my head, but it just came to me one day in the shower, and I texted Joe. I'm like, hey, let's do a podcast. Let's call it Hustle and Flowchart. And I think 3 minutes later, Joe texts me back. He's like, I'm in. And then I think 2 days later, we recorded our first episode.
That's awesome. You guys are each other's yin to the yang, which
Yeah,
is
man.
great. Because so many entrepreneurs are one or the other, right? They don't have somebody to bounce the ideas off of, or kind of bring them back down to earth, or help kind of push them out because they get so bogged down in the numbers of overanalyst paralysis, right, guys?
That's right. Yeah, and
So-
that's that balance. And I think if you have a shared goal, I think that's the big key is if you're partnering, partner up or whatever, they have all these sayings, but I would partner on personality, but then have a shared vision and goal with where
Joe definitely partnered up, so I'll just throw that out there. But
I'm going to just let him go with that.
You can deal with it later.
Yeah, exactly. I always do.
no, but it's really good because I am the one who will tend to spend days and days and days analyzing the next move in the business, where Joe's the type that it's like, he'll get an idea and he'll be like, I have this idea. I already built it. Check it out. And I'm just like, whoa, let's step back. And just like that sort of offsetting personalities and approaches is really beneficial for us.
Mm-hmm. That's a good balance. And then Kim comments, it sounds like you may have chronic idea disorder too, Matt. Hashtag shower ideas.
I actually used to keep a notepad in the shower. I think, Joe, do you still keep your notepad in the shower?
I ran out of pages. I got to buy another one.
Yeah.
No, there's a cool notepad. Yeah, you can write, get all wet. The thing can get wet. It's a little special pen. It's pretty cool looking.
I had a buddy who used a grease pen in the shower.
There you go.
Because then he could write up on top of it, where it wasn't getting splashed on, then get out, dry off, come back, and then write it down and go from there.
Well, actually, come to think of it, my kids actually have crayons that they use in the bathtub to write on the bathtub wall and stuff. That would work just as well.
There you go, exactly. Bath crayons. Kim says they have bath crayons, exactly.
Good.
Steve gives a shout out, Dynamic Duo. You guys are really doing some great stuff. So I'd love to hear from each of you. What's been your biggest nugget from doing the podcast? And let's start first with you, Matt. What's been your biggest nugget from doing what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to pick just one nugget. I mean, for me, the biggest impact of the podcast, and a lot of people don't know this about me because I don't know if it really comes out on the podcast, but I do have this like social anxiety. I'm very, very introverted. And I actually originally started podcasting to break myself out of that. This was my way of getting out of my comfort zone, talking to people that made me uncomfortable, talking to people that I actually put on a pedestal at one time, and just going, screw it. They're no better than me. They're no bigger than me. They're, no matter, the money in the bank doesn't matter. What matters is we're both people having a human connection. And so for me, there was this big getting out of my comfort zone element that's really been huge for the podcast. And then as a result of that, our network has just grown by leaps and bounds. It's been this just exponential growth curve, right? It's like, we have two different people on our podcast. Both of those people introduced us to two more people. All those people introduced us to two more. It's like a reverse pyramid scheme where like now we just know freaking half the marketing world.
Yeah, so don't be drawing circles, okay?
Exactly.
Joe, what about yourself? What's been the biggest aha?
I think the big thing for us is within the last 8 months of our podcast, and really with every piece of content we put out there, is the authenticity is like of who we are as a duo. I told Matt he had a little hanger on his hat. I was like, hey, take care of that.
I saw it. I was gonna let him go with that dangle. It's like an
See, this is we don't really care. Like this is us, So this is our normal selves. Matt's like a brother that I never had. So same to him to me. So we harness that. The second we kind of like hit this little switch, we're like, you know what? We had this filter for a while, and it's, hey, what do these people want to hear from us? Or back in the day, we had some podcasts, and sometimes, we don't censor ourselves, and some folks would be like, I don't really like that you're saying this word too. It's us. If you don't like it, that's great. There's hundreds of thousands of other podcasts out there, literally. And so it was when we harnessed our authenticity and just let it all out, man. It everything else kind of fit into place. And what do you know? You get better people listening to you, like-minded people you want to hang out, have a beer with, and that's kind of like the feeling of our podcast. That resonates through everything else we produce as well.
Well, I think authenticity is lacked by a lot of people out there. People trying to be something they're not. And the more you can be to your self-centered and be who you are, the easier it is to actually find success because you're not having to fake anything, right, guys?
That's right, man.
Right. So you guys are sharing your greatest episodes and 100 episodes, and we both indirectly, I've learned a lot from one of your biggest guests, Roland Frazier. We were talking about this the other day. Yeah. Great marketing guy. I got a chance to kind of mentor with him for a couple of years before he got into the DM side. So I learned a lot of stuff. And you guys are big in with the digital marketing side and the war rooms and stuff like that too. And I love that about your guys' show. You guys are sharing strategies to really help entrepreneurs out there. What's been the biggest kind of feedback you've gotten from your audience, or the biggest give that maybe you didn't expect to be a give coming back?
Matt, you want to go take that one?
I'm still thinking of my response to it.
You see that whole he tried to throw you to the bus there, man. He's like, Joe, I don't know right now, but Matt was,
all right.
Matt did the whole,
I got one here. I think the thing that we hear the most, so at New Media Summit that we're all at, and a lot of us met for the first time, was that we're the same in person as we are. It's everything's congruent. Yep. So, but not only that's authenticity, but we go deep. So we're kind of selfish at first with our podcast, in that in tune, kind of like we want to dig out very specific things because we want to learn them, but we know our audience is similarly minded, so they're going to appreciate it. And we don't do it in a weird dick way where we're trying to be like, never, like we're just cool, like legitimately, like we're interested, and I think our excitement feeds the guest. So they have fun. It breaks their little filter down, and we're not an interview style. We're kind of like this, and that's where the best stuff comes out. And people are like, I don't know how you get it out of these folks, but you do it. I'm like, cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it is. When it comes to our guests, we're actually very, very picky about our guests. We have had a few episodes where we recorded them and went, nope, that's not making it. We're not gonna air that one. But the truth is, when we just get very authentic, and we are often vulnerable on our show, we do share struggles we have in our business on our show, and we flat out ask entrepreneurs, if you were in our shoes, what would you do? What advice would you give us? And having that ability to have entrepreneurs solve our problems for us, but also knowing that they're solving that same problem for tens of thousands of other listeners is also very appealing, and there's something really satisfying about that as well.
Yeah, there's something to be said about asking the question that most people are scared to ask.
Yeah,
that's it, man. Yeah.
Because it does show vulnerability, but also shows, I think, a tremendous amount of strength in being able to ask that, put your feelings, emotions aside, say, how do I get better? Because I think that's what separates the successful from those that still are hitting that plateau. Is they're not afraid. They're afraid to be vulnerable, or have somebody coach them or mentor them over those humps. Huh, guys?
Yeah, I agree, man. And that comes to just be true to who you are. Like, where are you trying to take whatever you're trying to produce, and then that will inherently attract the best stuff.
Mm-hmm. Phoebe says on here, that's the biggest compliment when you're the same off camera as you are, and you guys are great out there. So
you rock.
Doesn't love Phoebe, exactly. So where do you guys see your show going in the next 12 months? Next year, what's in store for everybody for 2019?
Matt's got this one. I know he's got that vision down.
Well, I mean, as far as the show itself, we're going to continue on the same path we've been on. The feedback around the show, the types of guests we get, the types of questions we ask. That's not really changing. One thing that has shifted a little, and we're noticing more and more, is that we've shifted more to longer form content. If you look at our show in the beginning, they were like 15 to 30 minute episodes. If you look at our most recent shows, our most recent 10 shows are like an hour and a half long. It's because we like to go really, really deep with entrepreneurs. We like to get to the stuff that nobody else gets to. We'd like to get them vulnerable. We actually kind of high five each other if we can tell our guest is tearing up a little bit because they're very emotional about their topic. That's what we strive for. And we're going to continue to strive for that with our show. Outside of the podcast, we're working on a little underground platform thing where we're actually going to try to help people, like a networking tool to help make people make connections with influencers and things. That's kind of something on our radar. We hinted at our little 100th episode, but that's something that's in the works for the future for us.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Joe, you want to add anything to that? Or?
Yeah, I'll add that I think the focus is the podcast. That's our number one content generator. It's fun. It's our favorite part of the business, and it feeds our business as well. We do it in a very creative way. So we know how to monetize the show. It's not obvious yet, but it's, maybe some sponsorships. We're already chatting with some folks. So the momentum's there, and it doesn't take much. That's what's really cool. Podcasters listening here, you just got to think a little bit out of the box. And we kind of had this aha coming back actually from Austin a couple weeks ago on my long drive back home as we had this epiphany. We're like, man, we have a reach, but if you look bigger than the show, look at your whole platform, the media platform you're building, your website, Facebook, all your social media, anything you control, email list, you can monetize all that as a package. So that's more the direction we're headed, so we can keep doing what we love, where we don't have to, feel like we have to cut ourselves off and charge money for things that we just want to give away for free. So more of that.
That is huge out there, definitely on that stuff now. For podcasters, many people are looking to grow their audience. Are there any tips you guys want to give to new podcasters about how to help themselves market and get the word out?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I could probably rattle off 100 different ideas.
We don't need 100 things.
Yeah, I'll give you a couple of the biggest impact things.
One nugget that you love.
So one of the things we've been doing that's been really, really effective for us is running ads on the Overcast platform. So Overcast is a podcast player that'll let you actually advertise your podcast to people listening on that player. That's been really, really impactful for us. And then the other one, I'll just give two. The other one is not always, but we find a lot of guests that are targetable on Facebook. So they have a big following on Facebook, so that when we release their episode, we can boost that episode to fans of that guest and just keep that ad running perpetually. So that episode just always gets love from those fans. Those have actually been probably our two biggest growth strategies for our podcast right there.
Nailed it.
Good. That's really good stuff, though. How to identify other people and really rock that stuff out and really leverage other people's kind of tribes or audiences or their platform by kind of sneaking in a little bit, right?
Yeah.
What's the biggest? You've probably heard people reaching back to your audience on the biggest hurdles they're having as entrepreneurs. What's a big hurdle you hear consistently from your audience?
I think what the big one is kind of what you were just preventing was overload, overwhelm, too many things to test and try, because I know that's been our focus since the day we started in business, over 12 years ago, dabbling around in a full-time job still. But, in the podcast, we just get so many ideas, and we record 4 episodes in a day. Typically we batch record. So you can just imagine at the end of that day, we're, for one, drained. We love it. But then the next day, it's like Matt and I have a mastermind, and we're like, holy crap, all right. So we got a lot to work with here. And usually it's selfish. So it's cherry picking. It's looking for the 1 or 2 things we can actually put into action now. And that's the last thing we want to do for our audience is overwhelm them. So really, we try to give them a couple of takeaways from each show that are very tangible, and then they can run with it.
Right. Yeah. That's couldn't have said it better myself. It's the overwhelm thing.
Sure. Yeah. How important have masterminds been, not only in your podcast, but also your other businesses?
Holy moly. So we paid for masterminds. We've been invited to masterminds. They're all equally as amazing. Right now, I think we're paying for one, but most of them are, it's almost like you get to a point where it's just folks like the one we're in one with Roland and a few other big market, and that's, not a paid thing. It's just informal at a restaurant in Del Mar here. So not a big deal, but you think about who's sitting at the table and you're like, holy, you got investor, you get a guy like Roland, he owns like 30 businesses. You're like, dear God, I can learn a thing from that guy. And then you have, so the idea I think is to get a good mix in a mastermind. So you're getting well-rounded answers from a variety of folks. And I mean, your connections just keep, boop, 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 it's compounding every single time you go to one of those things.
My view on the masterminds, it's purely the blind leading the blind. No, I'm just kidding. That's a little inside joke.
It's an inside joke for New Media Summit there.
Yeah. No names will be said.
No, but when it comes to masterminds, like Joe said, in the early days, we paid for them because nobody knew who we were, so nobody invited us to their masterminds. And then over time, as we built up reputation and reach, we started getting invited to more and more, and now they're a pretty integral part of our business. I mean, most of our podcast guests are due to connections from one of our masterminds.
100%. Yeah. And then from there, it's just referrals and referrals, so.
Well, and that's the beautiful thing. It's the networking, but the mastermind, you're dealing with people who are committed, who are want to share. That's the whole idea of a mastermind, is people that are in like-minded and willing to share to help each other overcome obstacles, because they learn just as much from you as you're learning from them for the most part, if that's a true sharing mastermind, right?
Yeah, and I think piggybacking off of that really fast is another aha. Like at the beginning of this year, we had a conscious decision to just give away our best stuff for free. And I think that came from that concept of we like to give, and that's where the podcast rings out true for us. That's why we love it. And that's a true mastermind. If you're not a giver, I mean, I would definitely challenge yourself to figure that out and know you got a lot more to give that you can charge for if you need to,
Well, I think that comes from the old guard too. I've talked to people that are a little bit older in age as entrepreneurs, and it's not the sharing side. It's like the hoarding side.
Yeah.
And this is how we've done it for years. I'm like, well, that doesn't mean it's necessarily the right thing to do it in this market, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's the best advice that you can give? Just one thing. I know there's 100 things out here, but what's the best advice you can give to somebody who's thinking about starting a podcast?
Joe, you can start.
Damn it. No. One thing. You're the man. You got that.
So the best advice for someone starting a podcast, I don't know.
Okay, so I'll say get on some shows. Get comfortable and actually start that kind of giving and just get comfortable behind the mic. I would say just do that, or even just a social media video if you want to start with your iPhone or something like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say tap your existing network. So if you're gonna start a podcast and you're trying to figure out, okay, I need to record my first 3 episodes. Who do you know right now that would be a good fit? Everybody's got at least a couple people they can think of that would be willing to jump on their podcast that would be a good fit for their topic. Go record those first 3 with them and launch them all on the same day, so you get a little spike in your downloads, and that's how I'd start.
Mm-hmm. Great advice on there. Reaching out to your existing market and getting on shows, or just doing a Facebook Live just to get comfortable, because you're going to hone your skills. I guarantee, looking back, you probably feel like I do. When I look back at my first episode, I kind of cringe a little bit.
You don't want to see our old videos, man. We had to have beers, for one, to get off of that filter. And those aren't needed. You just got to be natural. Camera's your friend. Or your
Yeah,
mic?
didn't you just
yeah.
say that? I think on your 100th episode, you were talking about one of your best episodes that you got drunk with the guest before you got on and recorded it.
That wasn't because of nerves. That was just we were
That
buddies.
was, that was unintentional. We all made the mistake of going and eating lunch together before going back and recording the show. And, 3 beers into lunch, we're like, now's the perfect time to go record. And it actually turned into a really amazing episode because I think our guests let their guard up a bit and shared a little more than they normally would have.
Right.
That's great stuff there. What's the best way for everybody to reach out to you to connect with you guys?
So Evergreen Profits will kind of have all the Hustle and Flowchart show. Everything lives there. We did put together a little traffic book kind of giveaway because traffic's our thing.
Sure.
So evergreenprofits.com/podcast day.
Nice.
So that will give them all the good stuff.
Good goodies. Everybody loves goodies out there to help them out there. Well, guys, thank you so much. And thank you so much for being open. You guys do a great job on your show out there, just giving and doing deep dives. And I think every entrepreneur who's going to be in the digital market needs to make your show a must subscribe to, because you guys share so much great information. I love, like you said, we talked before, the vulnerability, just being who you guys are out there, and it's commendable. And thank you so much for what you're giving and sharing.
Appreciate you, Scott.
Yeah, we really appreciate you too.
Sounds good, guys. We'll catch you. Definitely, I'll see you guys in San Diego in a few weeks as well out there as well. So thanks so much. All right.
See you, buddy.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, guys. I think we are up time for a little bit of a break. A quick little short break now. Let's see. I'm looking at the schedule here real fast. Hang on one second. We are in a quick little 18-minute break. So come on back in 18 minutes. We'll see you back here shortly. All right. Go here and stop that.